Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into a truly fascinating piece of source material. Today, we're exploring a highly visual educational roadmap that's designed specifically to inspire kids. This curriculum maps out a massive, structured journey to teach the life of Jesus. But to understand the whole story, the material insists that we have to start at the absolute beginning. So we're going to unpack exactly how this curriculum presents the cinematic story of creation, the great beginning, where God makes everything. You see, the goal here isn't just to rattle off historical or religious facts. It's actually designed to build a captivating, foundational world that a child can mentally step right into. By establishing this dramatic starting point, the curriculum creates this massive springboard for the epic narrative of rescue and redemption that unfolds in all the later lessons.
So, where does this curriculum actually kick things off? Well, with absolute zero. Before there was a universe, before there were planets, stars, or even time itself, the text asks its young audience to imagine complete and total nothingness. We're not talking about an empty room here. There was literally no room at all. By starting with this completely blank canvas, the material sets up a really dramatic contrast, preparing the students for a spectacular act of creation. It's honestly a super effective teaching technique. Instead of just jumping straight into a fully formed planet Earth, hitting pause at zero helps a young learner grasp the sheer magnitude of what's about to happen. It builds this great sense of anticipation, like a suspenseful pause before the narrative fireworks begin.
Out of that sheer nothingness, the curriculum describes how God crafted a beautifully vibrant beginning. The lesson plan really emphasizes taking kids from that void of absolute zero to a sudden, incredible explosion of existence. And it frames this not just as a bunch of random things popping into being, but as a deliberate, majestic design unfolding perfectly according to a grand plan. Every single element is presented as an intentional brushstroke by a master artist. For a child learning this, it completely shifts the idea of creation from a dry, boring sequence of events into a dynamic, beautiful orchestration. The text works incredibly hard to establish that the original state of the universe wasn't just functional, it was inherently breathtakingly beautiful.
To really grab a young learner's attention, the source material goes all in on vivid, hyper-realistic imagery. It heavily emphasizes visual imagination, highlighting the deep blue waters filling the oceans, striking golden light warming the earth, a piercing bright white light breaking through the darkness, and lush green landscapes suddenly unfolding. It's entirely meant to evoke a masterpiece of vibrant, living color springing to life. And you can definitely see how this caters perfectly to a younger demographic. By using such sensory, visual language, the curriculum turns these abstract theological concepts into something the child can actually picture in their mind's eye. It lays down a really memorable cinematic foundation.
But then, right in the middle of all that grand, colorful creation, the massive oceans, the endless skies, the vast landscapes, the curriculum does something really clever. It suddenly pivots to something deeply personal. It emphasizes to the learner that the most special part of this entire process is that God intentionally made them. This serves a highly effective pedagogical purpose. It anchors the epic, cosmic scale of the universe right back down to the individual child. Instead of feeling incredibly tiny in a massive, newly created universe, the student is taught that they are actually the very pinnacle of this design. It establishes a profound sense of personal value, purpose, and belonging right from the starting line.
This brings us to Phase 1, the foundations, which serves as our roadmap to understand exactly why this perfect world eventually needed a rescuer.
The curriculum maps out the core foundation of humanity's start in 4 epic steps. It kicks off with the great beginning, which we just explored. Then comes the first friendship, representing a flawless bond between creator and creation. But unfortunately, that harmony is shattered by the broken heart, a tragic mistake. Finally, the narrative pivots to the promise of rescue, laying out a magnificent long-term plan to fix what was broken. Breaking it down into these 4 distinct phases gives young minds a super clear, digestible arc. They see the pristine start, they understand the problem that arises, and they're immediately introduced to the concept that a massive solution is already in the works.
To illustrate this, the text uses a brilliant visual contrast. On one side, it sets up the first friendship, described as a state of perfect harmony between God, Adam, and Eve, flawless love without any conflict. Right up against that is the broken heart. In the curriculum, this represents the very first mistake, an action that brought sin into the world and completely fractured that initial harmony. This before and after comparison is a classic, powerful storytelling device. It helps kids clearly distinguish between how the curriculum says things were designed to be versus the broken reality that follows. It creates an immediate, palpable sense of loss, which is absolutely essential for driving the story forward. And that first mistake? The source material explicitly defines that as sin. It's presented as a critical misstep that caused a broken heart and separated humanity from the perfect beginning they were designed for. This marks a profound shift in the lesson plan. The perfect world is no longer perfect, and the text makes it crystal clear to the audience that humanity couldn't just fix this massive fracture on their own. By defining the problem so sharply, the curriculum establishes the primary conflict for the entire historical narrative it's building. That pristine canvas we saw at absolute zero now has a massive tear right down the middle, leaving students wondering how or even if such a huge break can ever be repaired.
Which leads us to the next part of Phase 1, the promise of rescue.
Because of that broken heart, the story doesn't just end in tragedy. Instead, the narrative outlines how God immediately set a master plan in motion to save humanity. And this grand rescue plan unfolds to some seriously larger-than-life moments of faith designed to captivate kids. The curriculum highlights Noah, who showed immense faith by building a gigantic ark during a massive storm, which leads to the rainbow promise, a huge visual reminder used to teach that God always keeps his word. Then the focus shifts to Abraham. He's told to count the stars, which is a powerful metaphor promising him a family so insanely large it would eventually change the world. These aren't presented as isolated fables. The text uses them as interconnected chapters of a single, massive rescue operation.
The curriculum continues building this foundation through incredible stories of historical miracles. We see the impossible gift of the miracle baby, Isaac. And then there's the highly visual story of Joseph and his coat of many colors. Joseph's epic journey from being thrown into a literal pit to ruling in a royal palace is used to incredibly powerful effect. The source material uses this specific story to teach kids a crucial lesson, how God can weave human struggles into a larger narrative, literally turning bad days into good ones. It's a deeply reassuring message for a young learner. It teaches them that even when the overarching story hits dark pits and severe setbacks, the master plan of rescue is still actively moving forward.
Now here's the absolute crucial takeaway the curriculum intends for its audience. None of these breathtaking early stories were just random events. The Great Beginning, the Broken Heart, Noah's Ark, Joseph's Palace, they were all meticulously designed stepping stones. This entire first phase is structured specifically to provide the historical and spiritual context necessary to explain exactly why the world needed Jesus. By the time a student finishes this foundational section, they are meant to see a vast, interconnected timeline. They understand the beauty of the original design, the devastating impact of the fracture, and the incredible lengths gone to prepare the world for the ultimate rescuer. It builds unbelievable anticipation for the main event.
To wrap things up, the source material emphasizes that these aren't just ancient history lessons. They're actually meant to inspire action right now, encouraging students to show kindness based on a creation made in perfect love. The curriculum asks the kids a very direct question: how can you show kindness to a friend today? It's a fantastic way to prompt immediate positive behavior. But as we finish this explainer, it also leaves us with a much bigger, lingering thought. If this beautifully vibrant beginning, that tragic broken heart, and thousands of years of dramatic rescue preparations were all just setting the stage, how exactly does this ancient epic promise finally materialize in the chapters to come?